Hi, this is Flip with Lawn Mastery. Today is part 2 of a multi-part series on lawn fertilizers. Today we're going to learn how to determine how much fertilizer we need to apply to our lawn based on any given formulation of fertilizer. Now back in part 1 we talked about what's actually in a bag of fertilizer, what are the nutrients included in there, and how those affect the grass in your lawn. We also talked about how to read the label on a bag of fertilizer. Now if you missed part 1, I encourage you to go back and check it out. But if you don't have time to do that, we're going to catch you up with the important parts of part 1 here in just a minute. I'll summarize those so it makes sense as we go through part 2. Now, all of us have been to the big box store or the local lawn and garden center and walked down the fertilizer aisle. You walk down there and it seems like there must be 100 different product types. There's a fertilizer, there's big bags and small bags and formulations of all types. So how could you ever possibly be able to determine which bag of fertilizer you need to buy and put on your grass for your lawn? Well, it can be confusing, but hopefully today I'm going to be able to clear up some of that confusion. So if you recall from part 1, we talked about how to read the label on a bag of fertilizer. There's 3 main components or 3 macronutrients that are included in almost all blended fertilizer bags. And those nutrients are potassium. Let's go in order. They're nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those 3 nutrients are always presented in a format that looks like this. The nitrogen number is always presented first, the phosphorus number is always presented second, and the potassium number, represented by a K, is always presented third. And what those numerical values of those nutrients mean is it means that's the percentage by weight of that nutrient contained in that container. Doesn't matter what size the container is or bag is, that number is the percentage by weight of that nutrient in that bag. So in this example of this 3204 formulation, this tells us that 32% of that container or that bag, 32% by weight, is nitrogen. There's no phosphorus and there's 4% by weight of potassium. So what do we do with that? Well, application rates are given in a given quantity over a given area. In the United States, those numbers are pounds per 1,000 square feet. So let's just say that we need to figure out how much nitrogen or how much fertilizer in any given formulation we need to yield, say, 1 pound of nitrogen. So it's a simple equation. If we're looking for 1 pound of nitrogen, we take the 1 pound we're looking for and we divide that by the number, the nitrogen number, but we want to use the decimal equivalent of that number, so we're going to use 0.32. So we got 32 as the nitrogen number, we're using 0.32 in our equation. So 1 divided by 0.32 tells us that we need 3.125 pounds of this formulation to give us 1 pound of nitrogen. So what do we do with that number? Well, let's just say it's springtime and now our soil temperatures have warmed up to the upper 60s and we're ready to put that first dose of fertilizer or lawn food on our yard. The grass has been sitting dormant or semi-dormant all winter and now it's hungry and it's ready to eat. Let's just say that we have our grass type is Pensacola, and the recommended dosage for that grass type for that first feeding is 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So to figure out how much of that particular formulation we need to put on our lawn, we would take the lawn size, and let's just say in our example that our lawn size is 7,000 square feet. We would take 7,000 and we would divide that by the denominator, which is the 1,000, because we're pounds per 1,000 square feet. So we divide it by that 1,000 square feet, and that gives us a 7. So we multiply that 7 times this quantity, and that tells us, so it's 7 times 3.125, that tells us that we need 21.875 pounds of this formulation of fertilizer to apply 1 pound per 1,000 square feet over our 7,000 square foot lawn. That sounds pretty confusing, doesn't it? Well, let's look at a different formulation. Let's say we have a 10-10-10 formulation of fertilizer. So let's still looking for that 1 pound of nitrogen. So we're going to take our 1 pound of nitrogen, we're going to divide that by the the decimal equivalent of the nitrogen number. In this case it's 10, so 1 divided by 0.10 or 0.1, and that tells us that we need 10 pounds of this formulation to give us 1 pound of nitrogen. So using our 7,000 square foot example for lawn size, we take our 7,000 square foot, we divide it again by that denominator, that 1,000 number, and that tells us that 7 times 10 pounds or 70 pounds of this formulation is required to put 1 pound of fertilizer per 1,000 square feet over our 7,000 square foot lawn. Now, if the application rate was a half a pound, we would just change this 1 to a 0.5 and go through the same equation. In that particular case, it would be 0.5 times 10. This would be 5 pounds of fertilizer of this formulation would yield 1/2 pound. And then that would tell us, if you work through this, it would tell us we need 35 pounds of this formulation to put a 1/2 pound of nitrogen on our 7,000 square foot lawn. So the 10-10-10 formulation would require 70 pounds for the lawn, and the 3204 formulation would require 22 pounds for the lawn. So you look at that and you go, well, it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to buy this higher dose and do 22 pounds because it's less than the 70 pounds I would need here. Not so fast, because usually the higher formulations cost more money. Now in part 3, I'm going to show you how to actually evaluate the different formulations, whether it's this one or another formulation, against each other, to make a best buy decision on what's the most economical fertilizer to buy for your lawn. So I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Check us out at lawnmastery.com. Also like us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all under the Lawn Mastery brand. Once again, I hope it was helpful, and I hope to catch you in part 3. Thanks.